Hello everyone, I have another video for you today. I have 2 more Reddit stories. I hope you enjoy. Here is the title of the first story. I saw my dad on the news 3 years after his funeral. I still can't believe he did this. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when my life imploded. The morning news was just background noise as I scrolled through emails. My roommate had left the TV on, probably forgetting to mute it before work again. I wasn't even paying attention until I heard the name. Michael Wren. My dad's name. Not a common one. My head snapped up, coffee forgotten, as I stared at the screen. There he was. Alive. Walking through a crowd of people in what looked like a European city square. Gray hair, same build, same walk. He looked older, thinner maybe, but I would have recognized him anywhere. My heart was in my throat. The banner below the footage read, "Unidentified man seen near bombing site in Prague. Possible American ties." It didn't make sense. My dad had died 3 years ago. Massive car crash. Body burned beyond recognition, they said. The funeral had been closed casket. We mourned. We moved on. Or at least we tried. Now here he was. Or someone who looked exactly like him. My brain tried to reason with it. Maybe it was a coincidence. A doppelganger. But deep down I knew. I knew that was him. I spent the rest of the day frozen, like my body was functioning but nothing was really working. I didn't go to class. I didn't return texts. I just kept watching the clip over and over again, analyzing every frame. The way he tucked his hand into his coat pocket. The little hitch in his step. That was my dad. I would bet my life on it. That night I called my mom. I didn't want to freak her out, but there was no way around it. I told her to sit down and sent her the clip. I didn't say anything else, just told her to watch. She was silent for a long time. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Finally, she whispered, "Oh my God." I asked her what she thought. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Your father used to tell me that if anything ever happened to him, I shouldn't trust what anyone said. Not the police. Not the government. No one." That chilled me to the bone. I asked her why he'd say something like that, but she wouldn't elaborate. Just said she thought he was being paranoid. That he was under stress. But I could hear it in her voice. She wasn't sure anymore. Over the next few days, things escalated. My apartment was broken into. Nothing was taken, but everything was rifled through. Drawers open. Laptop flipped. Even the air vents were unscrewed. My roommate freaked out and went to stay with her boyfriend. I didn't blame her. Then a black SUV started parking across the street every night. No one ever got out. It would just sit there, engine idling, for hours. I took pictures. Posted them online. Even called the cops once, but by the time they arrived, it was gone. I started looking into my dad's past. My mom gave me access to some of his old stuff, files he kept locked in a storage unit she'd never touched. She always assumed it was work-related. My dad had been a systems analyst for the government. At least, that's what he told us. I found out quickly that wasn't entirely true. The files were encrypted. I didn't have the skills to crack them, but I found someone online who did, an ex-NSA tech who now did freelance security work. I sent him a few sample files, telling him they were from an old hard drive I bought at an estate sale. He messaged me back the next day. "Where did you get this?" I played dumb. He said the files contained communications between intelligence agencies, references to something called Project Orion, and several blacked-out names. My dad's name came up more than once, usually followed by long strings of redacted text. The tech told me flat out, "You need to be careful. People who know about this kind of thing don't stay alive for long." That's when I realized I was in over my head. More things started happening. My phone started acting weird, calls dropping, strange background noises, GPS going haywire. I stopped using it and switched to a burner. My email was accessed from a foreign IP address. I started staying at different friends' houses, sleeping with a knife under my pillow. I felt like I was losing my mind, but I couldn't let it go. One night, about 2 weeks after seeing the news footage, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally I wouldn't answer, but something told me to pick up. A man's voice. Low. Calm. Familiar. You need to stop digging, Sam. No greeting. No introduction. Just that. My heart almost stopped. Only a few people called me Sam. My dad was one of them. I said his name. Quietly. Not even sure if I wanted it to be him. There was silence. Then a sigh. I'm sorry you saw that footage. It wasn't supposed to happen. I asked him if he was alive. If he faked his death. If he was in danger. He just said I did what I had to do. And I need you to stay out of this. Please. Then he hung up. I stood there for what felt like an hour, phone still pressed to my ear, trying to understand what just happened. It was him. I knew it. The voice, the cadence, the guilt. My father was alive. And he was in trouble, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. I went back to the files. Back to the old documents, the encrypted folders, the aliases. I followed every trail I could. I found references to off-the-books operations, secret research facilities, psychological experiments on civilians. Stuff that read like sci-fi but had the stamp of real government documentation. Then I found the photos, buried in a subfolder, disguised as system files. Dozens of photos of children. Men in suits standing next to unmarked vans. People with vacant stares, lined up outside concrete buildings in the middle of nowhere. There were dates, coordinates, notes in code. And my dad's name, always connected, always close. I started piecing it together. My father wasn't just some analyst. He was part of something big. Something dangerous. And when he tried to leave, they made him disappear. That same night, someone tried to break into the house I was staying at. I heard the glass break and ran out the back door, barefoot, heart racing. I didn't go back. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I left town. Changed my name. Kept moving, but I didn't stop investigating. Over the next few months, I contacted whistleblowers, journalists, anyone who had even whispered about Project Orion. Most didn't respond. A few did, and told me things I wish I could forget. Things about mind control trials. Disappearances. Experiments conducted under the guise of national security. Then, about 6 months ago, I got another message. A burner email. No subject. Just a location. It was a remote village in the Balkans. I didn't think, I just booked the flight. When I got there, I didn't find my dad. But I found someone who had seen him. An old man who ran a bookstore. Said a quiet American man came through town a few months earlier. Asked about books on Russian encryption and old Soviet intelligence methods. Paid in cash. Disappeared again. The man handed me something before I left. A USB drive. It was encrypted, of course. I haven't opened it yet. But I will. I know he left it for me. I don't know what's on it. Maybe evidence. Maybe a goodbye. Maybe the last piece of a puzzle I've been trying to solve since the day I watched my father die, and then watched him walk away from the ashes. I don't know where he is now. I don't know if he's safe, but I do know this. My father didn't die in that car crash, and whatever he's trying to protect, someone is still willing to kill for it. That is the end of the first story. I don't even have a response for this story. I don't care about my dad. He can go die in a car crash, it won't bug me that much. Why are people talking about secret government experiments? I know for a damn fact that anything involved with secret government experiments is definitely being followed by some weird, suit-wearing dudes with sunglasses straight out of Men in Black. I'm Audi 5000. Let's get to the next story. Here is the title. I thought I knew who my sister was, until she disappeared without a trace. The shocking truth I uncovered changed everything I knew about her. I've always had a complicated relationship with my sister Lucy. Growing up, we were the polar opposites. She was the outgoing, popular one. I was the quiet, studious one who preferred books over parties. But despite the differences, we always had each other's backs. I admired her confidence, and she admired my ability to stay calm in any crisis. We were a team, even if we didn't always get along. Then, one summer night, everything changed. It was a Friday, and Lucy had planned to go out with her friends to celebrate the end of the school year. I was at home, as usual, reading a book, when she called me to say goodbye. It was a quick conversation, nothing out of the ordinary. She told me she'd be home late, maybe even early the next morning. I didn't think anything of it, just like I hadn't thought much of her late-night outings in the past. That's the way Lucy was, spontaneous, always on the go, and never staying in one place for too long. But that night she didn't come home. At first I didn't panic. Lucy had always been a little unpredictable, and I figured she'd stay out longer than she'd planned. I went to bed, thinking I'd see her in the morning. But when I woke up, she still hadn't returned. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I messaged her, but there was no reply. I told myself she was probably at a friend's house, or maybe she'd gotten too caught up in the night to think about coming home. But by the time afternoon rolled around, my worry started to grow. I called our parents, but they didn't know where she was either. My mom suggested I go over to Lucy's best friend Sarah's house to check if she was there. I did, but Sarah hadn't heard from her either. Panic was starting to settle in. Something didn't feel right. I called the police, but they were hesitant to take the case seriously at first. She was an adult, they told me. She could have gone off to clear her head or decided to stay with someone else. But I knew Lucy. She wouldn't just disappear without telling anyone. I could feel it in my gut. Something was wrong. The next few days were a blur of calls, text messages, and interviews. The police tried to trace her last known whereabouts, but the trail was cold. Her friends didn't know anything, and there was no sign of her at any of the places she frequented. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Then, a breakthrough. A few days after her disappearance, I received an anonymous message. The text was simple yet chilling. "She's not gone. She's just hiding." The message was sent from a number I didn't recognize, and there was no way to trace it. I didn't know whether to believe it or not, but something about it felt real. Maybe Lucy had been taken, or maybe she had been running from something. The more I thought about it, the more I realized there had been odd things in Lucy's life that I hadn't paid attention to. Strange behavior that I'd chalked up to her being, well, Lucy. She had always been a little secretive, always going on about her work and the mysterious things she was involved in. But I never asked too many questions because I trusted her. She always had a way of making everything sound fine, even when it wasn't. As I looked back through old texts and photos, I began to find little inconsistencies that sent a shiver down my spine. She had been seeing someone, but when I tried to ask her about him, she always changed the subject. She'd been receiving strange packages over the past few months, odd boxes that she would quickly hide when I walked into her room. I never thought much of it at the time, assuming they were just gifts or random deliveries. But now, it felt like they might have been something more. I decided to dig deeper. I went through her social media accounts, looking for any clues that could lead me to her. That's when I stumbled upon something I wasn't expecting. There was a photo posted on Lucy's Instagram from the night she disappeared. It was a picture of her standing with a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp features, standing close to her in an alleyway. There was something about the way he was looking at the camera, almost like he was daring anyone to come closer. It made my skin crawl. I zoomed in on the photo, trying to see any details that might help me. The background was a blur, but then I noticed something strange. A sign behind them that said, "Welcome to Nightfall Incorporated." I'd never heard of it, but the name stuck with me. I spent the next few hours searching for information on Nightfall Incorporated. What I found shocked me. It was a company, but it wasn't your typical business. Nightfall Incorporated was a shadowy organization that operated under the radar, with connections to various high-profile individuals and secretive projects. They specialized in something called personal security services. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized it was a front for something far darker. Some whispered rumors suggested that the company was involved in illicit activities, and its clients were often wealthy, influential people with dangerous connections. I couldn't believe it. Was Lucy involved with them? Had she gotten herself tangled up with these people, and if so, what had happened to her? My gut told me the answer was yes. The more I dug into Nightfall Incorporated, the more I realized that they might not just be a security company. They could be a group that deals with dangerous people, and they had their hands in illegal activities that I couldn't even begin to comprehend. Was it possible that Lucy had gotten involved with them? Had she been coerced into working for them? Or had she willingly joined? The questions kept piling up. If Lucy had become involved with Nightfall Incorporated, then what kind of dangerous world had she stepped into? And if she had been in hiding, why did she choose to run? Was she in danger? Or was she hiding from something she had been too afraid to share? I knew I had to find out more. But as I began to uncover more about Nightfall Incorporated, I started to notice something strange. It was as if someone was watching me. I began receiving anonymous messages warning me to stop my investigation. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but soon the messages became more frequent and more threatening. I received a text one night that made my blood run cold. "We know you're looking for her. Keep digging, and you'll regret it." Then came the calls. Strange, muffled voices on the other end, always breathing heavily, sometimes just silence. I tried to block the numbers, but new ones appeared every time. Whoever they weren't going to stop me. Not now. Not when I was so close to the truth. I began to feel paranoid. My house was broken into one night. Nothing was stolen, but the door was left unlocked, and I could tell someone had been inside. I didn't know if it was related to my search for Lucy or if it was just a random act of vandalism, but the timing felt intentional. I couldn't back down. I knew I had to find Lucy. If she was involved with Nightfall Incorporated, I had to get her out before they hurt her, or worse. But with each step I took, the walls seemed to close in around me. I realized just how deep this rabbit hole went. Eventually, I found a lead, someone who had worked at Nightfall Incorporated and left under mysterious circumstances. They agreed to meet me, but only if I promised to meet them in a public place. I agreed, desperate for any information. The meeting was tense. The person, who went by the name Alex, confirmed that Lucy had been involved with Nightfall Incorporated. She had been recruited by them after college and had worked with them for months. But according to Alex, Lucy had been trying to get out for some time. She was terrified of what she had become involved in, but she was also trapped. Nightfall didn't let people leave easily. "She's in hiding, but she's not alone," Alex told me. "They know you're looking for her. You need to be careful. They won't stop until they find both of you." That was the last thing I wanted to hear. My search had just begun, and now I was in deeper than ever. But I wasn't going to give up. If there was even the smallest chance that Lucy was alive, I had to find her. The world I was now part of was far darker than I had ever imagined. But the truth was out there, and no matter what it took, I was going to uncover it. The search for my sister had just taken a new turn, and I wasn't sure if I could handle where it was leading me. That is the end of the story. If some of my family members were secretly doing something, it wouldn't surprise me. Those people are weird. I hope you enjoyed the stories. There is a link in the description for my Reddit Stories playlist. Go watch them if you like. Have a great day.